Welcome back to Ground Truth. I'm your host, and look, today I want to talk about something that I genuinely believe is one of the most consequential moments we have seen in modern history. The US-Iran standoff, the Trump deadline, the Strait of Hormuz, and the very real question of whether we are hours away from something far more destructive or hours away from a deal. I've been going very deep into this, talking to sources, going through the intelligence that's coming out, the diplomatic signals, and what I've found is honestly alarming. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, the deadline. People keep asking, what options does Trump actually have left? And the honest answer is fewer than most people think. Look, I've been tracking the diplomatic back-channel activity very closely, and what I can tell you is this: the situation on the ground is, extremely serious. If no resolution comes through in the next 24 hours, what we're looking at is businesses shutting down, schools closing, factories halted, fuel supplies cut. The scale of disruption here is almost impossible to contain. And here's the thing that really gets me: most people don't even realize how close to the edge we actually are right now. There is a diplomatic channel. It is not broken down. It is slowed, stalled, moved back, but it has never fully stopped, and that matters. That is actually the one thing keeping this from going completely off the rails. Now, Trump has a press conference coming, and I want to lay out 2 or 3 things that he surely knows, or at least should know. First, and I want to be very clear about this is not his war. This is not America's war. This is Netanyahu's war. Second, there is an extremist faction that has always wanted to push the world toward bloodshed. They believe only they have the right to exist. And this group has cornered everyone, including Trump himself. And third, this is the bitter truth, and there is really no arguing with it. Iran has already won this war. The outcome has been decided. The question now is just, how much destruction happens before everyone accepts that reality? And if you're finding this useful, please hit subscribe and give us a like. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you this kind of analysis. Okay, back to it. So, it's not Trump's war, it's Netanyahu's war, and Iran has won it. But here's what I really want people to understand, and I don't think this is being covered properly anywhere. What we're watching right now is bigger than the Suez Crisis of 1956, and that is not a small statement. The Suez Crisis ended the British Empire. It permanently shifted control of the Suez Canal to Egypt, and it rewrote the global order. What is happening right now? This is the collapse of an entire global order, not just a crisis, not just a standoff. A full restructuring of, how power works on this planet. Every previous global order collapsed through war. Empires shattered in World War I, then again in World War II. And the question now, the real question is, does this transition happen through a sea of blood? Or does the world, sit at a table and negotiate its way through? That decision belongs to President Trump, and he has very, very little time left. Now let me walk you through what is actually being discussed diplomatically, because this part is crucial and most people are not getting the full picture. A proposal was put forward through back-channel diplomacy. The framework was an immediate ceasefire followed by the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, with 15 to 20 days for broader negotiations to stabilize the situation. Iran did not outright reject it. They kept the door open, and they sent back a counter-proposal. And Iran's counter-proposal, which reached Washington through diplomatic back-channels, has 3 core demands. Let me go through each one. Number 1, not a temporary ceasefire, a permanent one. Iran's position is, very firm on this. A temporary ceasefire was used before. Talks were underway through Oman, trust was being rebuilt, and then an attack came anyway. Iran will not accept that cycle again. Number 2, new rules of engagement for the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is invoking a precedent very similar to Suez. Just as Egypt permanently reclaimed the Suez Canal, Iran wants formal, recognized rules governing the strait going forward. And this is important, they are willing to discuss their nuclear program under the NPT and IAEA frameworks. That is a significant signal. Number 3, Gaza, Lebanon, the West Bank. An immediate and permanent ceasefire, with the Palestinian issue fast-tracked toward a real resolution. Those are Iran's terms. And, honestly, when you look at them clearly, what is actually wrong with them? Now, here is where it gets, really significant. What happened on the ground in the last 24 hours? There was a failed operation, and I want to walk through this carefully because, the official story simply does not hold up. The US sent C-130 aircraft into Iranian territory. Now, these are not cargo planes. These are not fighter jets. These are large troop transport aircraft, the kind where soldiers sit along both sides and drop via parachute through the rear ramp. You've seen them in films. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Defense analysts worldwide, not just critics, but allied media, people inside the system, are all asking the same question. Why would you send that many troops to rescue a single person? The story does not fit. Iran has just displayed an ID card belonging to a female U.S. Air Force major, recovered from the debris of this operation. That one image destroys the narrative that this was a simple rescue mission. What actually happened? Multiple C-130s landed at a desert airstrip. They got stuck in the sand, they could not take off, and the US, not wanting the aircraft and their intelligence systems to fall into Iranian hands, destroyed their own planes. Black Hawks, MQ-9 Reaper drones, the whole operation collapsed. This is being called Eagle Claw 2.0, a reference to the 1980 failed hostage rescue under Carter when American aircraft collided in the Iranian desert. And then, as if that wasn't enough, Trump went on Fox, and in what I can only describe as a moment of anger, admitted he had provided weapons to Iranian protesters and to the Kurds. That is now a massive diplomatic and military complication. Meanwhile, Netanyahu struck Iran's largest petrochemical facility, civilian infrastructure, not a military target. So, given all of that, what is Trump's actual play here? I genuinely believe there is an honorable exit available to him, and it's sitting right there on the table. He walks out and announces the Strait of Hormuz is reopening. New rules are being established, just as happened at Suez. He frames it as a victory, and honestly, for his base, it can be sold as one. The alternative, going in militarily, is a disaster. Not just a setback, a disaster. And here's why I say that with such confidence. America will fight. And then America will leave, just as it left Iraq, just as it left Afghanistan. It will pack up, call it a victory, and go. But the countries of this region, they cannot leave. They have to live with whatever is left behind. What is left behind? If this escalates, Gulf state infrastructure in ruins, bridges down, hotels burning, Iran targeting every state that allowed its territory to be used as a launch pad. And the Houthis, they will close Bab el-Mandeb Strait. That is the only reason things haven't fully exploded yet. Saudi oil flows through there, and Saudi Arabia is not part of this coalition. But that window is closing fast. Now, and this is something I think is really underreported, the opposition inside the United States itself. This is not just coming from the left. The majority of Americans do not want this war. Military figures who have been removed from their positions, they were removed precisely because they opposed it. Trump's own inner circle is divided. And look at the military reality on the ground. Israel's Iron Dome batteries depleted. Poland refused to hand over Patriot missile batteries. America had to ask and was told no. Hezbollah has re-entered the theater for the first time. Recruitment is happening. Their advance has stopped Israel's momentum, for now. I want to put the scale of what has been done into perspective. Between 70 and 100,000 people killed in Gaza and the West Bank. A university, described as Iran's equivalent of MIT, struck today. A 2,000-pound bomb dropped on Gaza. This is not a human rights violation anymore. This has crossed into war crimes territory. After World War II, the people responsible for this kind of deliberate targeting of civilians were shot by firing squad or publicly hanged. That is where the legal and moral threshold now sits. And the psychological consequence of all of this, the myth of Israeli invincibility, is gone. The wall, don't cross Israel. They have the Iron Dome, they have American backing. That wall is collapsing. And once it collapses, there is no containing what follows. So why can't Trump just sideline Netanyahu, make his own call? This is the question everyone keeps asking, and the answer is uncomfortable. Trump's donor base, his Republican base, is deeply embedded with the Zionist lobby. You cannot fire 4 or 5 people and make this problem disappear. These are voices that whisper in his ear constantly. They funded his campaign, they are in the room. But look at where America is right now. The empire is at a turning point. The sun is setting on one side, and on the other, a new power is rising. Trump wanted to go into his China talks as the dominant force. He wanted to project massive strength and then negotiate from a position of power. That calculus is now broken, completely. Hamas released prisoners on schedule during the ceasefire. Goodwill was building. The world was cautiously hopeful. And Netanyahu watched that process and saw the game slipping away from him. Because peace meant accountability, so he destroyed it. And what amazes me, genuinely amazes me, is that a supposedly clear-headed circle around Trump allows one man's agenda to override everything. If Trump has the power he claims to have, why can't he sideline the 4 or 5 voices driving him toward catastrophe? J.D. Vance, for the record, is against this war. He wants negotiations. Even Lindsey Graham stepped back today. These are signals, but are they enough? And, finally, the Strait of Hormuz. Because this is, I think, the thing that people need to truly understand. Iran holds the keys. The strait is locked. Iran locked it. And every attempt to reopen it by force has failed. What is actually happening right now is that Iran is selectively releasing countries one by one. Oman's deal is done. Several Arab nations have reached arrangements. Iraq's oil is moving. France has been cleared. Various European countries are, settling their accounts. Some paying, some being let through for free. Iran wants to formalize this into a recognized system, a framework. That framework won't be Iran's ideal, and it won't be a direct threat to the Gulf states, but some middle path will emerge. The Gulf states are beginning to understand, slowly, painfully, that Netanyahu cannot protect them. Some of them have already become, de facto occupied territories of Israel in all but name. They just haven't fully accepted that reality yet. So here is where it all lands. President Trump must now make a decision. Does he accept the New World Order with a heavy heart, smiling on the outside, the way he exited Ukraine by blaming Biden and called it a win? Or does he wait? Because if he does not act today, the destruction begins within hours. And when the world eventually sits back down at the negotiating table, after the blood, after the ruins, the terms will be far, far harsher than anything on offer right now. That is the choice. And the clock is almost out. Look, I know that was a lot, but I think it's important that we actually engage with this seriously because, the stakes here are as high as they get. This is not just about Iran and the US. This is about the global order. About whether the transition to a new world happens through diplomacy or through catastrophe. If this video gave you a clearer picture of what's actually happening, please subscribe to Ground Truth, hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll be back very soon with more. Until then, stay informed. This is Ground Truth.